Dr. No, 1962. General thoughts, boys? Yay or nay?
A.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
I think the gun barrel sequence is like something to talk about, but it's the first time it happened.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to talk about because there's so many things in the movie that like somehow stayed through the entire series, which blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Because like that also, but there's no pre-title sequence, which is kind of weird, and I don't really like that. But
it
it's
just
the first
sort of
one,
launches
so
into it.
that's okay. It's the first one.
Yeah.
But the gun barrel, a fun thing about the gun barrel though, is that they use that one for the first three movies, that exact sequence, but that isn't actually Connery. It's his stunt double, Bob Simmons.
I was going to ask you about that because, I mean, it's meant to be him because he's got the hat and coat that he has in the movie, but I was like, that looks nothing like, or well, I mean, it looks sort of like him vaguely, but yeah.
Well, he's a lot shorter than Connery is. You can kind of tell. But it's they reshot it after Goldfinger because the new widescreen aspect ratio they needed, and they actually used Connery. And I don't know why they didn't use him for this. I guess like they couldn't shoot a freaking gun or something. I don't know. He was afraid to. I don't know.
Yeah, he was afraid of the gun overlay that they had in front of the camera.
Yeah.
There's like the polka dot with the ampersand, and then that becomes the gun barrel, which then becomes even more multicolored polka dots.
Well, I like that sequence a lot. I mean, it's Morris Binder who did this sequence, and then he's gone for the next two, and then he comes back. But he did like 20 of the movies. No, he didn't do 20, but he did like 15 of them. And like, I just like the really colorful stuff, you know, because they get kind of bland in the 80s.
I'm surprised because I mean, James Bond, I don't really think of it as being kind of vibrant and bright, like in terms of like its color palette. But it starts off, I don't know, it hits you in the face with every single shade of the rainbow.
It's pretty brilliant to start with the Bond theme. I mean, that's like the only good part of the score. So
yeah, it's funny.
Like the only part of the score.
Yeah, well, the score is. I mean,
no, you
Monty
forgot
Norman
Three
did the
Blind
score.
Mice.
Well, okay. The music that they use in the opening title sequence is pretty weird. I mean, the Bond theme's great, but then the Three Blind Mice thing is weird.
Three blind mice here and here, three blind mice everywhere, searching all around for the cat, all over Kingston, come pick a cat.
The good thing about the Three Blind Mice bit, though, is that it does work as good transition into the movie when you actually see them. Because that whole opening scene at the, with Strangways getting shot, that's all good stuff. I like that.
Yeah,
and it's a nice mystery. That. But then there's, we go on to what happens next. Oh yeah, Strangway's secretary is offed, and I need to, like, that scene drives me nuts because it's like you really see how bad the editing is.
Yeah, that wasn't a good. Like, I mean, it was fine until then, and then when that happened, I kind of, it was like I'd already thought, wow, this is good for their first film, and then it immediately hit me again. Wow, it's their first film.
I mean, I'm sure the budget was really small.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. But that brings me to the dubbing, because the dubbing is so bad.
Yeah.
So, as for context, there's this woman named Nikki Vandersil who is a voiceover artist and was very prominent in the 60s, who voices a lot of the women in the early Bond films. She did Honey Rider in this one, and Sylvia Trench.
What are you doing here? Looking for Shell? I admire your luck.
And Sylvia Trench is like, okay, maybe like Ursula Andress couldn't speak good English, I don't know, or she had a thick accent because she's Swiss, but Sylvia Trench, the actress, is English. I'm sure she sounded fine.
Yeah,
I mean, what is the point of dubbing?
Why Honey Rider sounded like she was Tarzan and had never seen another human her entire life.
I could not decipher where she's meant to be from.
Well, that's kind of intentional, though, because she said she was like always moving around the world with her father, and that she's not supposed to be like the brightest character,
Speaking of a product of its time, racial sensitivity at all time low.
Yeah, I mean,
for everyone involved.
All the Asian characters, I mean, none of them are played by Asian actors, which is a problem.
Yeah.
But like how they make them look like Miss Taro and then Dance Secretary, how they make them look Chinese, it is just unbelievably bad.
I want to go back to so when we're first introduced to Bond,
Bond. James Bond.
I really liked that casino scene.
Oh, that scene
where,
is so good. That is such a good
Yeah.
scene.
like, because I mean, I knew because it kept cutting to just you saw his hands and his hand of cards in his hands. Speaking of hands, and
Yeah, no, I mean, like the direction is like pretty confident. I shouldn't have shit on it before, but
it's a weird mix of. In some places, it's really good, and in others, it's really kind of just laid back and casual.
Yeah, I thought that for like the beginning, like the first few scenes, the cinematography is really good.
Yeah,
yeah, it is. But Sylvia Trench is like, she comes back in the next movie. I mean, and she was the only Bond girl to be in back-to-back films until Madeline Swan. So yeah, she has a brief scene in From Russia with Love, but it's kind of cool that Bond kind of had a girlfriend for a little bit, like a steady girlfriend. Yeah, that's okay. Well, first of all, the Moneypenny scene is fantastic. They have the most amazing chemistry. Like, it's insane. Like, he goes in and sits on her lap, and they're like,
yeah.
they're so good together.
Yeah, that
It's
was really good because it's the first movie, but it feels like they've done 10 movies together already.
That's exactly right. That's like that's exactly what I want for the next Bond film, just to put us right into it. We don't need like an origin story, you know? Like, you immediately feel like you know the character of Bond, even though you just met him. But the M scene, he gets the PPK. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, here's the whole backstory with that scene, because in the books he carried a Beretta, and then like a weapons, specialist or something, wrote to Fleming saying, Bond shouldn't carry a Beretta. It's a pathetic gun. He should carry a Walther.
Oh, really?
And then Fleming actually changed that in the books. And the guy's name who wrote to him, his last name is Boothroyd. So the guy in the movie, and Q's name is Major Boothroyd.
Oh wow! It's strange though that, like, obviously Bond does really well with the Beretta from what he talks about, and then they're like, no, you're an idiot. Have this gun you not used.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it comes out of nowhere, but in the movie it works. He said he carried a Beretta for like 10 years or something like that. There's a really, really weird bit in that scene, even more about dubbing, where M says since I've been head of MI, like his mouth says MI6, but the audio says MI7. It's so weird.
And another thing, since I've been head of MI7, there's been a 40% drop in double O operative casualties, and I want it to stay that way.
And he goes to Jamaica. There's a bit where like the photographer lady who comes back and later she tries to take a picture of him, and then she like licks the light bulb that she has.
I do not remember that.
Yeah, well, that's always puzzled me since I was a kid, because I did not understand what I was looking at. I love the bit where like Connery meets the guy who's supposed to be from Government House, and he immediately like calls Government House. That's such good spy stuff, like that. I just love that. But like Felix is creeping around, and that's like such a trope. Like I mentioned before, how a bunch of things stick throughout the whole series, but that's one that I hate, because they recast Felix a whole bunch of times, and they do it again where he's creeping around the background. You don't know who he is because it's a new actor, but it's stupid.
Nice.
But like Connery, or like rather Bond, recognizes him as the same person every time, but the audience doesn't, so it's completely stupid. First of all, Connery is like, sometimes I take it for granted, but he is so good in this movie. Like, I was thinking when I was watching, like, he is so good. And like, to talk about his casting a little bit briefly, but like Ian Fleming hated him initially.
Yeah, I knew about that.
Because he thought he was too tall, he wasn't, he's Scottish. But eventually Fleming, he died in 1964, I think, so he only lived to see a couple of Connery's films, but he ended up, working a Scottish heritage into the novel for Bond, because he ended up liking Connery so much. So that's cool. And Connery, I mean, like, say what you will about him beforehand, but, he just was Bond in this movie. He was so good. He's not even my favorite Bond, but I'll say that. I mean, he was just fantastic. He's so, like, he just like breathes cool.
he's so comfortable with being Bond that it's just like, it's not even a case of you forget he's Bond, or like you forget he's not Bond, sorry, but like it's just that's who he is. He's just
So the chase,
yes,
with what's his name, Johnson, what is his name?
I do not remember.
I think it's something like that. Anyway, I have really mixed feelings about the cars in this movie, honestly, because none of them were very impressive.
No,
How about you, car guy? What do you think?
Where was it filmed?
In Jamaica.
It was actually filmed in Jamaica. I mean,
Yeah, they go to
They're-
Jamaica a few times in the series.
yeah. So they're only working with what is there that they can get there.
Yeah.
Sure. So, you're not gonna have a massive variety of the best cars in the world there.
That's true.
It's funny that when you talk about cars, like what car Bond has in a movie, sort of like an iconic thing that wasn't established yet.
It does establish, though, how central cars are to the stories.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
There is a lot of driving that goes on in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of driving and a lot of that good 60s horrible. It must be a green screen or whatever.
Oh god, the back projection. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
That's pretty bad.
The car is like the car when he's in like the quarry. The car's like 3 times the size it should be behind him.
Yeah,
It's like
because there's like at one point it's supposed to look like it has bumped into his car, but it looks like it was just driving through
Connery-
the car.
Connery's like he looks like he's like acting so hard when he's it's like
I mean, I feel like he did a pretty good job considering he was
Yeah.
just sitting in a non-moving car having to react to nothing.
I think regardless, the chase scene, it all makes it worthwhile at the end when that car goes off the cliff and that man comes out.
explodes for no
Happened,
reason.
He literally watched it happen 5
Yeah.
seconds ago.
How did it happen? I think they were on their way to a funeral.
We're skipping a little bit of it because the first chase happens before they go to Government House, and the guy has the cyanide cigarette, which is nice a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, that was
With
I was
really
actually
sets up how fucking serious it is, I think.
well, yeah, that's the first bit where we sort of, they start pushing the sort of how scary Dr. No is. Nobody
Yeah.
will betray him,
Yeah.
which I think works brilliantly because you don't see Dr. No until like the last half an hour of the movie.
because when I actually saw him, because there's all the hype about him, and when I actually saw
Yeah.
him, I was like, wow, he's completely unimpressive.
Oh, I thought the
yeah,
opposite.
okay.
I
But
thought
then-
I think
visually he looked like a pretty good villain. It's the first movie, so it's
I wonder if it's that he's the first villain, and so because I mean, like after you get Blofeld, you get Jaws, you get Chief, and it's like I wonder if it's just like I'm not as impressed by him because I mean he set the standard, but then everything that came after.
when I was a kid, I
Ocho.
didn't think he was a good villain, but now, like, he has really good dialogue with Bond. Like, that whole dinner scene is very
Yeah.
good. That's very snappy. I don't know. I think he's very, like, he plays it very soft. So it's sort of like, it either works for you or doesn't. He's not, like, the very intimidating, over-the-top. He's not Goldfinger.
Yeah, he's got a lot of nuance, and it's like quite.
Yeah, I think that
reserved.
works. So I think we should briefly talk about, at Post Fellas Club, the jump-up scene.
The jump up scene.
Well, there's the bit where everybody's dancing around. Right before they have the sit down with the camera lady, but there's like Push Fellas walking around, and there's that guy who's freaking out on the dance floor.
I do not remember this.
Oh, how did you not notice it? Oh my
they
goodness.
focus on him for a good few seconds, so you
I
really
don't
have to
know,
watch him.
So then he goes to Crab Key, and then Christian, you mentioned the scene about the tarantula, but the tarantula thing is like the scene where he gets it is great, but the fact that it's tarantula is kind of stupid because it's a centipede in the book. I know that, which is, actually, I know in the book he gets bitten by the centipede and gets really sick, or he almost gets bitten by it and he gets like. But you see him go in the bathroom after he kills the tarantula, like referencing that.
Yeah.
Oh.
But oh god, when he's hitting the tarantula, dun dun
Oh, and
dun.
then,
Yeah.
the music syncs up to the hits.
It's like the awful. It's like Looney Tunes.
I love when music syncs up to like what's happening in the movie, but it was such a weird decision for that to be how it happened.
It makes it funny, which it should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
it does. It makes it slapstick.
Yeah,
more than
exactly.
I hate that. I really like, and like the close-ups of that scene of like the trench, like you clearly see like it's on a plane, like a plane of glass.
It's not
plate of
on
glass.
him.
Yeah, and it's like he's moving around and it's completely still, like on
Yeah.
the glass. I mean, okay, they tried, but
Can tarantulas even be poisonous?
they're not fatally poisonous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt bad for the tarantula. He was my favorite character.
I think maybe the 1962 audience would have been scared by it, but like
Yeah,
nowadays
maybe.
it's wow, my goodness. He goes to Miss Taro's house, and that whole scene is, aside from the
Ooh.
misogyny, that's a great scene.
That seems bad on so many levels. I mean, I know she tried to kill him, but it's a bad look that he took advantage of her that way.
Yeah, it was a little aggressive.
Yeah, and then he arrests her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was talking about Dent's death before, which is my favorite scene in the entire movie. I'm probably that and the dinner scene.
Yeah.
My father loves the "You've had your six" scene. That's so good.
Mr. Smith and Wesson. And you've had your six.
That's a great scene. I love Connery, like prepping for whoever shows up. He puts the pillows to make it look like he's sleeping in bed. He puts the music on. He's
that's
playing
great.
solitaire.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good.
I like the fact that he just sits there waiting. It like from his perspective, he's just seen somebody blast like a copy of him.
Yeah.
Because and then he's just like calm about it. I mean, I know he's a spy, but like if I saw that, I was like, wow, somebody doesn't like me.
So the next bit after that, he goes to Crab Key with Quarrel, and he meets Honey Rider,
That's
that's like the most iconic, one of the most iconic scenes in the whole series. Honey Rider coming out of the water.
Yeah.
What's she doing? She's like cleaning shells, and she gets really defensive about him.
She's
stealing-
collecting shells.
Yeah, but she like gets.
She said
gets
the
a
one she had was
knife
worth
out.
$50 in Miami. So there's a whole bit with that trio.
I
where they're
think
being-
my favorite sequence, weirdly, of the film is the whole section where they're in the swamps. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know why.
good. Music again, the music's terrible.
But yeah, I like how there's a part where they have to hide underwater with like bamboo tubes
That's
to
good.
breathe
I
through.
like that. And I like how they sort of like play it that they're in the clear, and then there's the one guy who sort of lingers behind. That's
yeah,
good.
He's good at
yeah, but
building
like, what was that guy doing?
Well, what's
he's
stupid
just-
is the dog like was about to get to them, and then it like heard a bird or something and ran away. That was
Yeah.
pretty stupid.
And then
That's movie
everybody
stuff.
runs.
Yeah. I didn't understand because like they kept building up the dragon, and I was like, well, obviously it's not going to be a dragon; it's going to be like a tank or something. But I looked at it and I was like, that is not a dragon. That's like a hippo that breathes
Clearly
fire.
a tank.
Well, there's that stupid bit where they see the tread tracks, and then she's like, "Those are dragon tracks." And he's like,
I was expecting him to make like a quip about that.
Like,
I've
I'm
never seen a
sorry.
dragon like that.
I know you're not smart and all, but if you claim you've been all over the world, I feel like you know what a tracked vehicle is.
that kind of
I mean,
ruins
she
it
must
because
have
then
been-
Quarrel 2 plays along. Like you would think Quarrel would think, "Wait a minute, what?" Like
Hang on a minute, I've seen construction equipment before. I'm pretty sure that's not a dragon.
I mean, who knows what? Maybe dragons exist in the Bond universe, and maybe they happen to walk on feet that resemble tank tracks. I don't know.
yeah, I think that whole thing that didn't really work.
I
I think the dragon
there
scene is cool.
I'm pretty sure there was meant to be like a quip by him that got cut out. I don't know how we could resist.
There's a shot. The Quarrel gets barbecued, which is a little sad. But there's a shot where you see Connery's shooting the PPK, and then it cuts, and he's holding a 1911, and then it cuts back, and he's holding a PPK, and it was like, I've known that since I was a kid. I've noticed that, and it drives me nuts.
He's not chosen his starting weapon yet, Trav. So just give him
Oh
break.
yeah, he keeps switching classes mid-fight.
Yeah.
Well, then there's the next bit of when they're scrubbed down for the radiation, that's a weird scene.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we'll just
They're-
scrub them down, and then
you're-
now they're completely fine.
Yeah, you're telling me that just like totally fine after being exposed to all that radioactive ooze.
Yeah, they
Bad fucking chance. Bond is never having kids.
well, that's probably good for him, but
Well, yeah.
they put like all that soap on them that you never see them do. It just sort of appears. And
Oh,
then,
wait! That was so funny when they when they fucking spray them with the soap, and then the guy walks over with a broom and just like brushes them twice.
Once.
There's a bit
Just,
where
like,
like the
brushes the
guy who's
front.
like the guy's like directing, like he's behind like with a mic directing them what to do, and like his mouth moves for like a second, and like 5 seconds worth of dialogue come out. It's so bad.
Not soaked into their clothes.
All right then. Take off all your clothes.
Then they get directed through sort of like it's like a copper elevator, not an elevator. It's like a vault.
It's like a vault. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's copper in Doctor No's base, and I have no idea why. Like I don't know what his aesthetic is. Is like
Because he has metal hands, so yeah, everything has to be.
well, yeah. It's such like what would I guess I'd come to know as like classic like evil bases in Bond. It looks like what I imagine GoldenEye levels to be in my head. I like though when they get through the vault door how there's like 2 women to greet him and they just act like it really is a spa, and like they're utterly confused at the fact that they've just walked from an evil base full of hazmat suit scientists to
There's
like
a great
nice
line.
retreat.
And then they drink the drug coffee that
Oh,
probably
Yeah,
tastes
what was
delicious.
even what was even the point of that?
Just so they slept for just before dinner, I guess. I
so
don't
they
know.
could sleep, and so Dr. No could come in and rub his non-existent
Oh,
hands.
that's
all
right. Yeah,
over.
Dr. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so weird.
I
What was the point of that?
I don't know. Because as well, that's the first time you see Dr. No. Technically, it's good when Bond finally encounters Dr. No. There's a lot of sort of tension there because it's like they finally come face to face, but it's also quite a like neutral ground that they're going to meet on, which is having dinner. But
Well, they show up in the awesome like aquarium, but I mean the projection there is wow, is that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You know.
the problem with introducing him so late is that like a lot of his dialogue is just him giving his background, about working with the Tongs in the Chinese underworld, which is cool.
Yeah.
But like it's we're getting a lot of exposition. Learning about Spectre. We learn about what Spectre's
Yes,
introduced. We
Spectre.
get what the acronym means.
oh yeah,
What does it mean? Go ahead. What does it
The
mean?
alien being
Spectre,
extortion.
Pector, Ector, Tur.
Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, Extortion.
League
The
of
extortion
villainous
part.
evildoers maniacally united for frightening investments in naughtiness.
Every villain is lemons.
Every villain is Lemons, otherwise known as evil.
So why does Doctor No just put him back in like a little cell? Like what was his plan after that? Was he just you want to talk to him again? You have a nice chat, or
Well, I think it was just put him aside until they're done with their rocket plan,
oh,
and then steal whatever afterwards.
I like.
But that whole escape from the cell is so clunky. Christian, you mentioned that, but
Yeah.
When he first tries to open the grate to get into the vent, and I don't know if that was meant to be a shock or it was because it was more like a fucking flashbang when he touched the vent.
I think it was a shock because then I think the logic you're supposed to say is okay, he's using the shoes because they have rubber on the bottom. He's kicking the thing in.
But you couldn't see anything it was connected to. And then the other thing is, you'd have thought, oh wow, I've just been shocked by a metal grate. I better not go into this metal vent that probably would also shock me at that rate.
Although very convenient that the air ducts in his lair are massive.
Yeah, the air ducts are connected to like the water pipes and the water and then like the water comes through and it's like steaming, so you're supposed to think that the metal's really hot, but that came out of nowhere. And then he rips up his jacket and then puts it on his hands to like crawl across. I don't understand what's going on there.
Because like you'd think, oh wow, his knees must be really hot regardless.
Right.
Yeah, but he's totally fine. He doesn't like show like he's in pain or anything. So
No.
it's like
Except for that one instance where his hand, he's like, hot.
Yeah. Unless it was meant to be that it was electrically charged and like it it was
Maybe it was something that was like it was deleted, like they ended up not
possibly.
using it.
I don't know. That's a good point.
Like
I
maybe
liked-
it was explained but not included in the final cut. I don't know.
yeah.
Then there's that whole thing. Everything kicks off. Bond turns the dial up to 11.
Yeah, like all the
Oh
while,
yeah,
it's
I love the
annoying.
fucking the bit on the dial that just says danger, don't go past this, but you
Oh,
can
that's-
clearly
that's
very
a-
easily go past it.
That's in a whole bunch of the early Bond films. Like they have a setting, like a do not
Like,
turn
I
up to this
know-
high setting.
I know it's meant to be to like show to the audience what he's doing, but it's like you could probably just leave out that stupid
Yeah.
little scale, and we could understand that he's overloading the reactor.
I
Yeah,
like
they cut to the boiling water and everything, so it's like
Right.
kind of.
the whole time with the boiling water and him doing that. Like Dr. No and all of the scientists happen to be looking at the TV screens, and like there's a part where it's as if they're gonna look back and notice it all, and they don't. It's like
I know, and like all like you should think like their screens would be lighting up, like saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
the reactor is about to freaking blow."
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like on movies when people have got to sneak into a room where somebody's sleeping, and like they sneak in and the person like is snoring. They wake up and they open their eyes and they just go back to sleep. It was like that. Yeah, it was very strange.
Also, I like how Bond's solution to this problem is to just cause a nuclear fucking explosion on this in Jamaica. So now that
Yeah.
entire section of the world is completely uninhabitable.
After he sets off all those explosions, he's running through hallways, and you see like a hallway completely on fire.
I like the bit where he's like grabbing people, like where's the girl I came in with? Like he's grabbing everybody,
Yeah,
and like
yeah, because
Honey's like
Fucking
tied to the
punches
floor.
one
That's a
guy who
really weird
doesn't know.
scene.
there's a
Oh, that's,
guy.
oh yeah.
He just like there's a guy who doesn't know. Just punch him. He can die in the explosion.
Yeah.
No, but that's like, and then when he finds Honey, he runs in the room and he comes across the guy and he just throws him over the side. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
But Honey's like tied to the ground, and there's a scene, like they cut a scene where like there were a bunch of crabs around her, and she was gonna be like attacked by crabs, but
Oh,
apparently they just look like dead crabs around her.
Oh.
But
that the sequence at the end, I like when he's like, "Oh, we ran out of fuel."
yeah,
Like I was like,
Lighter
it's
shows up with the
gonna be a bit-
Marines.
Yeah, it was like a bit comical at first. It's like, oh, they've had to come save him. It's like end of the film, and then she like gets on her knees, and like it looks like it's about to get really dodgy, and then the film ends.
That's a classic Bond ending. But the music, the instrumental of Underneath the Mango Tree,
Yeah.
terrible. Gets really loud, blows my ears out.
I like that when it says the end, it's because the boat's in the middle. It says the, and there's a really
Yeah.
big space end.
The break time.
I mean, obviously, like the usual phrase, the movie's a product of its time. And I mean, there's a lot of problematic stuff in it, and which is a shame because the rest of it, I think, is pretty good.
So I will give it a 7 out of 10 tarantulas because I think it's better than good. I think it's very good. I don't think it's in like the great tier Bond films. But I think it has to be like above a 5 or 6 just because it does so many things right. And especially considering it's the first film, that's very impressive. Connery's amazing. Honey Rider is one of the best Bond girls. Even though it's not even her voice, she's still like incredible and iconic. Dr. No, hit or miss, but overall I like him, and I love the Jamaican setting. So, and its relation to the Bond history.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 6.5 gamma rays out of 10. There's a lot of fucking goofy bits that are pretty bad, even considering the time period.
Yeah.
I think I give it. I'm gonna give it 7 Walter pistols out of 10. I mean,
Okay, you agree with me?
yeah, I agree. I mean, it could go to 6.5 or to 10. To 10. No, it could go
Well,
6.5 or 7. like you said, it's sort of the first film, and it does have sort of teething problems, but at the same time, it does so much right, and there is a lot to love about it, even with the goofiness and also the sort of problematic aspects. There's still redeemable aspects to it that I did enjoy whilst watching. Okay, so next time is which
From
movie,
Russia
Travis?
with Love.
Tune in next week.
1963. Probably not next week. Tune in sometime in the next decade.